Advanced English vocabulary. Common sentences in business meetings.
Let's get started with today's agenda.
Can we circle back to that point later?
What are the action items from this discussion?
Let's table this for the next meeting.
Does anyone have any objections to this proposal?
Let's go around the room and hear everyone's thoughts.
Can we have a quick recap of the previous meeting?
Let's keep the discussion focused on the topic at hand.
We're running short on time, so let's move on to the next item. Does anyone have anything to add before we proceed?
Can we assign someone to follow up on that?
Let's prioritize this task and revisit the others later.
How does everyone feel about the proposed timeline?
Could you clarify that point a bit further?
Let's take a quick 5-minute break before continuing.
Do we have consensus on this decision?
Let's document that in the meeting minutes.
Does anyone have any updates on their assigned tasks?
Let's try to keep our comments brief to stay on schedule.
Can someone summarize the key takeaways from this discussion?
Before we begin, does everyone have a copy of the agenda?
Let's quickly review the objectives for today's meeting.
I'd like to hear your input on this matter.
Can we set a deadline for this task?
Who would like to take the lead on this project?
Could you walk us through the details of your proposal?
Let's allocate a specific time for each topic to ensure we stay on track.
That's a valid point. Let's explore that further.
Let's summarize the key decisions we've made today.
Can someone share their screen to show the presentation?
Is everyone clear on their next steps?
Could you expand on that idea a bit more?
Let's keep brainstorming and revisit this in our next meeting.
We need to determine the resources required for this initiative.
Does this timeline align with everyone's workload? Let's schedule a follow-up meeting to track progress.
I appreciate everyone's contribution so far.
Can we park that idea for now and focus on the main issue?
Let's identify potential challenges and how we can address them.
Are there any final comments or concerns before we wrap up?
Can we agree on a budget before moving forward?
Let's revisit this item at the end of the quarter.
Could you explain how this aligns with our overall strategy?
Do we have all the information we need to make a decision today?
Let's ensure we document all action points clearly.
I'm sorry, but I beg to differ.
I tend to see it from a different perspective.
We have to meet the deadline, but we're running out of time.
Take a closer look at the numbers.
Let's ensure everyone has had a chance to share their thoughts.
I completely agree with that point.
You've raised a very valid issue, and I'm on the same page.
That's an excellent observation. I was thinking the same thing.
I support your suggestion. It aligns with our goals.
You're absolutely right, and I'd like to add to that.
I think you've nailed it. That's exactly what we need.
I'm in full agreement, especially with your last point.
I see where you're coming from, and I agree with your perspective.
That's a great idea, and I think we should move forward with it.
I fully agree. That strategy is both practical and efficient.
I agree with most of what you said, but I'd like to clarify one point.
I see your point, and I think it works in some contexts.
You've made a strong case, but I think there's room for adjustment.
I agree in principle, though I have a few reservations.
You're mostly right, but I see it slightly differently. I think your idea is solid, but we may need to tweak the execution.
I'd like to propose a slight modification.
I'm with you on this, though I think we could explore additional options.
I share your view to some extent, but let's consider other perspectives as well.
I mostly agree, but there's one small thing we might want to rethink.
Thank you for listening to English Audio Lounge. We hope you have enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more audio stories and video classes to improve your English.